What's up, losers? Today I've got some more fun posts from r/fatlogic to check out and rant about a bit. This is episode 62 in the fatlogic series, and I'm well in the mood for some fat acceptance theatrics. So without further ado, let's get right into these posts.
Cannot stress enough that fatphobia is a, literally, murderous ideology that makes the world worse and less livable for every single human.
Okay, so, in responding to this post, I feel that I need to distinguish between different kinds of fatphobia, which I think I'll call the real and the imagined. By the real, I am referring to things like unproductive insults and bullying directed towards fat people, verbal and physical abuse of fat people on the basis of their size, and general mean-spiritedness that aims to tear fat people down, rather than helping them to raise themselves up. I would be a fool to deny that such things happen, and I have no inclination to. So if people want to use the term fatphobia to describe the hatred that motivates such actions, I have no real objection to that. And I, of course, condemn anyone who would denigrate someone just for being fat, or get a sadistic pleasure out of humiliating fat people. That is not what I stand for, and I find such conduct deplorable. With that being said, most of the time when I see people calling out so-called fat phobia online, it is not in response to stuff like this, but in response to perfectly reasonable social attitudes towards the unhealthiness of obesity, the desire to be thin, and how far society must go in accommodating morbidly obese people. I suspect that this post falls into this latter category, aka the imagined fatphobia, and I will respond accordingly. But the post does not actually specify what issues it is talking about. So I thought I would give this disclaimer up front, just to make clear my disavowal of genuine acts or attitudes of fat hatred. To finally respond to the post itself, then, I can only say, no, so-called fatphobia is not a murderous ideology. Society does not want to murder fat people. We want to help fat people. And the only way to do this is by encouraging and assisting them to lose weight. Fatness itself is the real danger that fat people face, and it is not one that can be defeated by positive affirmation alone. Change is necessary. There's no two ways about it. What matters, however, is that this change is intended to protect fat people, not to harm them, and those who advocate for weight loss are not, for the most part, doing so out of a hatred or disdain for fat people. They are doing it out of honest concern. It can be difficult to be told that you need to change. I fully understand that, but the mature response to uncomfortable advice is not to ignore it. Or, worse yet, to lash out and smear those offering the advice as bad people. The mature response is to do one's best to understand where the advice is coming from, consider it on its merits, and reach as unbiased a verdict on it as one is able to. Instinctively labeling any criticism as murderous fatphobia might provide a momentary relief from self-doubt, but in the long run, it's only going to hold you back from making positive changes in your life. And it'll also make you look rather childish in the process. As for the idea that fatphobia makes the world worse and less livable for all humans, yeah, not really. It's not making things worse for me or my naturally thin homies. It's not making the world worse for formerly fat people who were inspired to lose weight by social encouragement and are now living a better life for it. It's not making the world worse for fat people who understand the dangers of obesity and are pursuing weight loss for the sake of their health. Frankly, it only seems to be making the world worse for the willfully ignorant, who want to close their eyes to the iceberg that looms up ahead. And, what can I say, I don't think that we should be letting those people steer the ship.
before and after photos are not the whole truth. They are showing a moment in time, right after the weight loss happened. What you don't see is the after, 2 to 5 years later, with the many fluctuations of weight in between. I don't blame anyone for showing before and after photos. I get why they do it. In this world that is heavily judgmental of each other, especially of higher body size, people think they are doing a great thing by losing weight. It's almost a guarantee you're going to receive heaps of praise and adoration for weight loss. It feels good to get all that praise. It also takes a lot of effort and often sacrifice to lose weight, so it also feels like an accomplishment. If only weight loss was something that could be easily and healthfully sustained for everyone, but for most people it's not, and by no fault of their own. Body diversity is real. We are not all meant to be thin, and it's unhealthy and hurtful to try and achieve that. What we don't see after the after photo is the stress, strain, and cost of trying to keep that weight off. We don't see the worry, binges, and feelings of shame and failure for trying to sustain something that often isn't sustainable. It's one thing to make changes in your life because it works for you and feels good, and weight loss happens as a result of that, versus altering your life around you behaviors to sustain a certain weight. Making positive changes in one's life may result in weight gain, but we don't see after celebrating that. If you're ready to feel comfortable in your body without focusing on weight, download for free the Guide to Body Acceptance. Link in bio.
Okay, so I'm going to switch things up here and respond to the post's last claim first, because it stood out to me as especially ludicrous. That claim being that we don't see people celebrating positive changes that lead to weight gain. Hello, what planet are you living on? We absolutely see that all the fricking time. Though controversial, before and after pictures of people who have recovered from EDs are super common to see. And they are quite literally celebrating someone putting weight on. Even more common are gym progress pics of guys showing off all the mass that they have put on in order to bulk up. I swear these sorts of pictures are the most common thing in the world, haha. Like, how could this person honestly claim that nobody celebrates weight gain? It's just so laughably out of touch that I can't wrap my head around it. Moving on, the overall argument of the post seems to be that before and after pictures are problematic because 1. People often put weight back on. 2. The pictures don't show all the effort and stress that goes into losing weight. And 3. Because weight loss is impossible for some people, and seeing other people flaunt their weight loss through before and after pictures is upsetting to these people, I guess. Responding to these points one at a time. First, the fact that people will sometimes put weight back on after their after photo does not necessarily mean that it is wrong to post these pictures. For some people, seeing that they were able to achieve major progress in the past might inspire them to try again, or remind them to hold themselves accountable. And if this is not the case, they can always just delete the photo. Ultimately, nobody is being forced to post before and after pictures. It's a matter of personal preference. And it doesn't make sense to come out so strongly against them just because you personally dislike them. Second, no, before and after photos, naturally, can't show all the effort and possibly stress that went into achieving the weight loss that they exhibit. But once again, this doesn't make it wrong to post them. I think people generally understand that weight loss is difficult and requires a lot of work, and this is precisely why they want to post before and after pictures. To share their accomplishment. Like, nobody goes on social media to post a picture of their shoelaces like, hooray, I tied my shoes today. Right. Because it's easy, and it's not an accomplishment. The whole point of before and after pictures is that they show that no matter how difficult something might be, amazing results can be achieved with a little perseverance. And, I don't know, that seems like a pretty positive message to me. Finally, weight loss is not impossible for anyone. It can be healthily achieved and sustained by anyone. Nobody is just meant to be fat, and diets do not fail because some people are just incapable of weight loss. They fail because people either set the wrong goals or fail to adhere to the rules that they set for themselves. If seeing a before and after picture of somebody who has lost weight makes you feel bad about yourself, maybe you should channel that feeling into, I don't know, actually doing something about your weight, rather than just whining about how hard it is seeing others succeed where you have failed. Just a friendly suggestion.
The left has a big fat phobia problem. A lot of liberal people say that racism, sexism, Islamophobia, transphobia, and any type of bigotry is bad. But, lol, fat people, they're greedy and horrible. It happens so much in liberal spaces. In many liberal spaces, discrimination is a big no-no. People work to be anti-racist or anti-sexist. They pride themselves on being forward-thinking and progressive, that is, until it comes to fat bodies. Many liberal spaces espouse the benefits of diets, cloaked into terms like health and wellness. Many liberal spaces still presume that fat bodies are unhealthier than thin bodies. Many liberal spaces only share images of people with smaller bodies because a fat body could hurt their brand. Many liberal spaces say that it's not about how you look, but how healthy you are. This tomfoolery needs to stop. Fat phobia is a social justice issue. You cannot claim to be a feminist and be liberal or forward-thinking if your compassion stops at people over a certain weight. Dieting and conflating health and weight are conservative in nature. These are conservative ideologies. Thinking fat bodies ought to shrink is not a liberal viewpoint. Being healthiest, ableist, and racist are things for conservative people, not for liberals. But people really struggle to let go of that stuff, even when confronted with the fact that fat phobia stems from racism and that diet culture upholds white supremacy. People want to be good, but they just can't let go of white supremacist systems. Their belief is, we're helping you be healthy and well by being fat phobic. No. Health and wellness, the polite, liberal term for fat phobia.
Not gonna lie, this post is pretty frustrating to read. And the thing that makes it so frustrating is that it consistently takes shots at leftists who are opposed to obesity on the basis of it being unhealthy. But it never properly addresses this belief, other than to say that liberals presume that fat bodies are unhealthier than thin ones. Which, well, they are. It's not a presumption, it's verifiable fact. And if you're going to chastise people for their anti-obesity stance, it's a fact that you have to take into account. Because for all their talk of how fatphobia is no different to racism and sexism, and all other kinds of bigotry, the health problems associated with obesity represent a pretty significant point of differentiation from these other forms of bigotry. Someone's race and sex are not innately harmful to them in any way, and there is, thus, no good reason to criticize them. Obesity, on the other hand, is genuinely dangerous to a person's health. If someone advocates for weight loss, they are not doing so out of an irrational hatred of fat or fat people. They are doing it out of concern for the human being underneath the fat. To lump this empathetic care in with racism and sexism is not just dishonest, it's despicable, and it only serves to prop up real forms of bigotry through associating them with something as benign as healthy dieting. So, nice going there. My other main criticism of this post is that its focus on whether something is liberal or conservative, rather than whether it's, good or bad, right or wrong, etc., is tribalistic and immature. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not some totally neutral centrist. I have my own political persuasions. Everyone does. There's nothing wrong with that. But I don't evaluate issues based on how neatly they coincide with my preconceived ideas of what is left or right wing. I actually consider positions on their own merits. and reach the conclusions that I do by reference to my own values and morals. Even if someone identifies as extremely left-wing, their support for left-wing policies shouldn't just be based on the fact that these policies are left-wing. They should be based on a belief that the policies are good for society in some way. Because if you support, say, gay marriage, not because you think gay people deserve equality, but because it's a socially left-wing policy, you're not taking a moral stance on anything. You're just playing for a team. The same logic applies in reverse. Saying that something is conservative is not, in and of itself, a reason to reject it. You have to have actual reasons. This post has a lot to say about what is liberal and what is conservative, but much less to say about the real impact that obesity has on somebody's life and health. And for this reason, among others of course, the post is utterly unconvincing, and it achieves little more than wasting the minute or so that it takes you to read it. 1 out of 10 do better. Well, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you had a good time reading the posts with me, and weren't compelled to tear your hair out by all the tomfoolery on display. Haha. What do you think? Is fatphobia a murderous ideology that makes the world worse for everybody? Are before and after pictures problematic? Is health and wellness the polite, liberal term for fatphobia? Let me know in the comments. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Or I'll murder you, I guess. Just kidding, haha. Anyway, catch you later.